Hi, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerdcore Podcast, a podcast that reviews movies and talks that nerd shit. This is episode 429, and as always, is the nerdy Chicano here to host the show alongside my wonderful co-host, Young Yoda. Why'd you do that, Brad?
Because I can.
Oh man! And as always, not as always. Sorry, that's what I always say though. But being joined by our wonderful host, Gio.
Host, I'm here again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are here today to celebrate Pride Month with you all as we review the 1989 documentary Tongues Untied from documentor filmmaker Marlon Riggs. And yes, I know what you guys are saying. Just one movie? Oh, the whole month? I'm like, yeah, the schedule was messed up. We had to play catch up. But we said we got to give you guys at least one movie, right? Let's go. We got to make sure that we're here for it. And none other than what movie than one of the movies that I've been talking for a long time that I've been wanting to watch. And I know that Gio, too, for a long time is wanting to watch. And Brad found out that it existed until the day I brought it up. And
I mean,
it's on brand.
I mean, that's usual.
Yeah.
That's a movie. Sweet.
Yeah, it's a movie, bro. It definitely is a movie.
Definitely a movie.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what's it called. We're here to talk about Tongues Untied. Before we get into any of that, I want to get to know what's up. Brad, what's going on? How you doing, bro?
Doing good.
You went to go eat?
Mexican food.
Nice. How's work?
Yep. It happened.
Yeah. All right, yeah. I watched Willy's Wonderland today.
Oh, I'm glad you continued with that sentence because I didn't know how to take that.
Not a good movie. So I'm hoping
Willy's Wonderland, and you're surprised it was not a good movie.
Yeah, but Sunday we record our episode of Cinema Condition of Stalker, so I'm hoping that I redeem myself with Stalker soon. But fucking hell, man, was Wonders Willy's Wonderland not good.
Wonders Willy.
Wonders Willy. That's a different movie, totally.
Yeah. Gio, what's up? How you doing today, man? I'm gonna have
to search that one up.
Yeah,
I'm all right. I worked today, and we had not a search committee, but it was more like staff interviews for a position for a position at the office. I'm also I'm a little bit nervous because I have been looking forward to this particular episode since you talked about it in February, late January, early February.
Yeah.
And we're here now.
Yeah, man. So for those of you I've been wanting to watch a Marlon Riggs film for a really long time. I remember I've heard about Marlon Riggs from my documentary filmmaking class. This is pre-pandemic time, so I was sitting there, and my professor brought up this film. He's like, "Oh, this is a very groundbreaking film that kind of really changes the whole idea of how you make documentaries and introduces she talks about how I would show you all this, but I gotta get to showing some other movies before I can show you experimental stuff." And then of course the pandemic happened, so we didn't get to watch this movie. But she brought this one up, and I'm like, this sounds so interesting. And I was like, I just constantly had it in my head, and I just never got around to watching it. And then of course Criterion, finally announced the signifying works of Marlon Riggs box set that they're doing. And I'm definitely going to be picking that up now because I want to see what this looks like restored, because I can only imagine what they did to how they restored this one, because it's a little rough around the edges. So I want to see what kind of work they did to restore it. But what's going on? Wonders Willie. Nicolas Cage is in other movies he stars. The man has an Oscar and he makes movies like Willy's Wonderland. But yeah,
Does anybody ever mention that Oscar is from like 1995?
yeah.
No, just
That was
Just
older
saying.
than me.
Yeah, man. That thing's older than me too, man. Brad's
just
older than
saying.
that Oscar though.
Yeah, I'm older
That-
than an Oscar.
Brad
But
said me and that Oscar were we shared a childhood.
we were best friends.
Yeah, we're best friends.
We went
bro.
everywhere together. Played in the sandbox.
And then after 1995, just a lot of other things started to happen. Oh my god, man! But yeah, man. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm glad that Gio can join us for this one. But what's going on, Gio? How's it? How you feeling about finally getting to do this one?
I feel good. Like very like impactful. Like I always like forget that like this film, like his work is like shorter than like what I would think when you think of in terms of like a feature length. And but like man, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, I guess we can't stop playing. Can't stop beating around the bush. Let's go ahead and just get into it, right?
Yeah.
So without a further ado, if you've never seen Tongues Untied from Marlon Riggs, then this is your chance to stop listening, or else you're gonna get spoiled. But I should really start to like clip what Berg said on Monday, dude. It's like this movie's been out since blank. What's it? Insert year. Y'all had time to watch this movie.
Well, Ferris, that's what we're about to get into after the spoiler warning.
Yeah. So if you don't care about spoilers, you can go ahead and stop. Keep listening. But if you do care about spoilers, this is your one and only spoiler warning, and it is in effect in a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You ever wonder how I can actually, spoil a person's experience or like a community's experience? Like, I don't know why I have to give a spoiler warning for this movie, but I guess somebody out there in the void of the people on the internet will be saying, I never got to watch this movie, you freaking idiot. Why'd you spoil it for me? So let's go ahead and just, what's it called? I'm probably never watching this film. Ferris, we got to get you
You
to
should
watch
definitely watch it. It is very like it's a very powerful and impactful film.
Yeah.
And like quite frankly, like a true like fully like a piece of art and expression.
Yeah. But Ferris doesn't say that because he doesn't want to watch a movie. It's just that like he has like so many movies he already has to watch.
This is true. This
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, Ferris has a lot because like we'll be in film clubs and Ferris is like, I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about. Like what movies are these? And it's like I gotta watch these. But let me go ahead and do this, guys. It is an absolute travesty. It's blasphemy that this entry in Wikipedia is only like 3 sentences long. But you know what? We'll make what we've got. I'll probably like read the criterion, description too, because I've been doing that on Between the Frames as of late. I haven't been doing Wikipedia entries for Between the Frames. I'll do the Tongues Untied version on there too. So Tongues Untied is a 1989 American experimental documentary film directed by Marlon T. Riggs and featuring Riggs, Essex Hemphill, and Brian Freeman. The film seeks in its author's words to, shatter the nation's brutalizing silence on matters of sexual and racial difference. To celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Teddy Awards, the film was selected to be shown at the 66th Berlin International Film Festival in February 2016. It is also important to note that that Marlon T. Riggs did die of AIDS in 1996. I want to say 6, if I'm correct. I've got the thing right here, right? 94 actually. Yeah. What's it called? He died of AIDS in 1994, and he was a filmmaker. He was an educator. He was a poet, and he was a gay rights activist. And he did a lot of movies. And they're not that long, honestly. They're pretty short films, but they're still very impactful in what they present within their short time frame. Let me go ahead and get what Criterion has to say about it, because like I feel like it has a better words than what's it called? Than what Wikipedia has to say with their 3 sentences. Yeah. Um. All right, let me get this going in here. Made in director Marlon Riggs' own works to shatter the nation's brutalizing silence on matters of sexual and racial difference. This radical blend of documentary and performance defies the stigma surrounding black gay sexuality in the belief that as long as shame prevails, liberation cannot be possible. Through music and dance, words and poetry by such path-breaking writers as Essex Hemphill and Joseph Bean, and by turns candid, humorous, and heartbreaking interviews with queer African American men, Tongues Untied gives voice to what it means to live as an outsider in both a black community rife with homophobia and a largely white gay subculture poisoned by racism. A lightning rod in the culture wars of the 1980s that incited a right-wing furor over public funding for the arts, the film has lost none of its life-affirming resonance. That is Tongues Untied from Marlon Riggs, and as always, Criterion gives way better descriptions for these films than Wikipedia does. Yeah, it is true that pretty much Ferris just doesn't have time to watch all these things. But let's go ahead and go around. I want to go ahead and get our guests first, just to be nice and let the guests go first. Gio, what did you think of Tongues Untied?
I think Brad was.
Yeah, I was going to argue that point, Raul. I think Gio should give his last after us.
All right, cool. Then, Brad, you go first.
From the film, like Gio said, very powerful, very impactful, brilliant documentary. And what else did they call it? Like a documentary mixed with a theatric flair? Yeah,
kind of, because it has its performances within inside of the film.
Yeah,
but like it's very experimental. It's very, very experimental.
Yeah, but it hits every point it's trying to make. Yeah. It goes into the lives, and I just love some of the scenes where it's like, you asked me, which am I more? Am I black or am I gay? And that's like asking a man, like, you want to get rid of your left nut or your right nut? Like either. I'm both. So, I from what I can say, I can't really, I can't really relate fully with the movie, but I can still see how powerful, see how this should be shown like everywhere.
Yeah.
For people to at least to get some understanding on, what these men had to go through and what, much of society is still going through.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to leave my comments.
Yeah. So I watched this, and like throughout the whole thing, I'm remembering a thing that specifically Gio said throughout the review of the final episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's also something that I remember Steve McQueen discussing about his first film in the Small Axe series. That notion of legacy. Not letting the legacy die, like soon the ancestor stories are just going to become stories. They're not going to be like present experiences or past experience. It's going to become just stories that we have to tell, and that a notion of having to make sure that they're alive within the community that it's representing. And I'm watching this and I'm just thinking about like all these men who died because of the AIDS epidemic, and and a lot of what is being said in here, but also just the beautiful nature of way that the film is kind of crafted within its experimental nature, but also its very poetic form of filmmaking that is like unlike a lot of things that I've watched within documentary. I've watched a lot of documentaries. I've watched Samsara. I've watched the what's it called the stories we tell. I have like all these documentaries I've watched, but nothing to me has ever stood out the way that this film stood out to me, in a way that I don't feel like I was watching a documentary per se. I felt like I was watching a transformative experience in a way, an experience that was that was, telling you everything that has to be told, but through the nature of a poetry, and through, you know through the snaps. What something as like simple as like the snaps was so beautiful to see it there, and how much that meant to them, with the snaps. Yeah. And I just, throughout this film, I was just absolutely amazed at what Marlon Riggs was doing, and just how he was able to just craft such a beautiful movie, but very, very transformative in the way that it's presenting the narrative. So, Gio, what were your thoughts on Marlon T. Riggs, Tongues Untied?
I feel like I by the end of the movie, I felt like someone like put a mirror up to my face and like said like, "Hey, this is who you are. Are you okay with that? Like, is this like the person you are? There's the parts that you should be proud of, and you're proud of, and you've become comfortable with. But then there's the other parts where like you're still not sure about. Um, so this film, very like, yeah, we've all said it, impactful, like, and like transformative, and like it's also incredibly personal. Um, it is like a mixture of Marlon T. Riggs' like personal life and as in conjunction with like pieces from Essex Hemphill and Joseph Beam, and like the experience, his experience and the experience of Black queer people in New York, and in the midst of the AIDS epidemic at its height. At the same, like, it's also very like relatable to me being Black and queer, because I fully like I've every like the one where he's talking about like this being called this name versus being called another name, and like listing slurs, and then like that ending of finding kindness in like a white man's eyes, and like that sending like seeking comfort somewhere else, and not feeling comfortable, and not seeing yourself in media, and not seeing like not even kind of like not wanting to look yourself in the face. Brothers are brother, as it were. And I've lived that. I've tussled with that with my life being Black, and like my experience as a Black man trying to figure out like, am I like finding like pride in myself, and like being who I am, and like like juxtaposed versus the people around me, how they behave and who they are and who they're attracted to. And I still deal with like a good amount of shame, and like shame for ever like feeling not proud of myself, but also shame of like having to kind of like sit and remind myself that like it's okay to be me, that it's okay to like that like I'm allowed to healthily be myself, because as Marlon T. Riggs mentions in the documentary, there are ways in which like you turn towards somewhere else because you don't feel safe where you should, because you don't feel safe around other Black people because of this or that, because of these identifiers, because of these differences in interest, and that leads you in other places. It can lead you to drugs. It can lead you to unprotected sex. It can lead you to situations in which you have to hide your identity behind a mask, for safety, or for a semblance of comfort. Riggs talks about cruising, which like in modern day, like I think cruising in which, well, let me explain cruising. Cruising is when it's
Hey, not a lot of people know what cruising is, bro.
Cruising is when he talks about like in like when the film talks about like going out into the night with the cologne and searching for a man who might be a killer, just someone to like hold you in the night. That's cruising, seeking casual sex from a stranger, trying to seek comfort from a stranger. Which isn't me like shaming casual sex. It's just that there's a number of dangers in doing that, and like some of those dangers you ignore the dangers because you're seeking that comfort from somewhere, from somebody, because you need it so bad, because you don't feel at home anywhere. You don't feel like there's a place for you in that moment. Cruising isn't a thing I've personally experienced, but I know it's a thing like with friends of mine and the larger queer community have done that. Like there's terms like talking about like being down low, and all of these different, because queerness wasn't accepted for a long time and still not accepted in many places, and especially even still now, like in the Black community and in like Black church isn't accepted. You go somewhere else that's not safe because you're looking for home, and that increases the risk for disease, and it like makes a marginalized group more marginalized and more susceptible to danger, all on top of already danger, which is like as seen in the AIDS with AIDS. That's what like the connotation of AIDS being because of homosexual sex. It comes from the increased risk of danger of contraction from cruising lifestyles and ignoring the dangers of situations. Like I said, I really felt seen and confronted about like, in particular about like my interracial attraction to people, and I'm still sorting that out, trying to figure out like, okay, like where is this fully me seeking something else? Like, am I trying to seek the arms of someone else, the kind eyes of a white man who sees me as queer and not as Black? And that the answer is as complicated, because it depends on the person, it depends on the relationship, and it depends on like comfort levels between people and a matter of communication. But this film does so much and says so much in 58 minutes.
Yeah, 58 minutes.
Like I had to pause multiple times because it was just so intense, and I was like, I know I missed something. I missed something so crucial, or I need to hear that back again to make sure I'm on the same page of what's going on here. And while it's talking about the troubles, it's also talking about the joy and the those moments of feeling love and feeling connection and seeking connection and like being Black, being gay, being a revolutionary act of defiance in itself. That joy is defiance as much as the work of active activism. And I have a pin on that goes like, every breath is defiance. And like this film says so much about like, that's like the thesis of the film.
Yeah.
Is that like despite all the trouble and all the stress and of racism and homophobia and the dangers of sex and disease and dealing with identity, finding who you are is so important, and defying the people hating who you are and not wanting you to be happy. Being happy is defiance.
Yeah. I, of course, cannot bring up this film without discussing the controversy that was around it at the time. This was supposed to air on PBS. And then, of course, what's it called? There was this whole thing about like, oh, that this is what the taxpayer monies are being spent on and so forth, about calling it pornographic and blasphemous, and and I constantly go back to the idea of the of the filmmaker's responsibility of as a young Kurosawa was shown the perils of humanity and what humanity happens, the filmmakers, responsibility of pointing the mirror at society and showing what's going on, and especially in a channel like PBS, which is public broadcasting, is where you show that important stuff because it's not restricted by a network breathing down your neck. It's supposed to be the stuff that's informative for the people. And to me it is absolutely revolting that you must reach to a college class to even hear about this type of film, and how like this isn't something that is shown to young people, because once again I go back to the thing that we're saying, the ancestor stories have to be preserved. The legacy has to be preserved, or else, that's all they're ever going to be. It's going to be stories and not legacies that need to be discussed. And I find it just, of course, there's always going to be, an agenda to wanting to call these things as pornographic or, or blasphemous. It of course came from a Republican, presidential nominee at the time. But, I read through this and I'm just like, there's, if it's being, especially like, I'm pretty sure if this was going to be shown on PBS, it was going to be shown around like the 8:00 time slot, when mostly if you don't want your child to watch this, they're asleep by that time. They should be asleep by that time, especially because it's a school night, but it's not art. It's not the job of the artist to, to coddle the viewer and to make sure that they protect them from what is they need to be shown. They're pointing the mirror to the viewer. They're showing them what exactly is happening. And that's why I look at this. I was watching this movie and I just felt it so transformative. And it's like, here's a revolutionary black man, a black queer man who, is laying it all out there for you. He's not just giving his experience, but he's giving the experiences of those who are no longer with him in his life anymore. Those who he lost, and he's giving you all that. And he's like, take this information with what you will, but I am giving you my experience in 100% in its raw nature. One thing that stood out to me especially was, because of course, Brad, you and I are big fans of Eddie Murphy. We love Eddie Murphy. And when it's talking about like that whole stand-up bit, it reminds me, Murphy, came out and even said, like, I understand what happened. I was wrong for that. And I was like, I hurt, you come to the point where you understand that you hurt people with what you have to say.
You hurt a whole community.
Yeah. And that's why he felt like, Murphy now speaking about, he's like, going forward, my stand-up is going to look very different. And how, it shouldn't be a whole idea of cancellation, more so a period of reflection on what our words mean when we speak them out into existence.
Yeah. It's kind of just Eddie Murphy continued that toxic masculinity in a way.
Yeah.
Through that. And he was early 20s when he did that stand up?
Yeah.
And no really excuse, but at that time too, at that age, I don't think people understand just what their words can do. Yeah.
And, of course, Eddie Murphy, the older man that he is now, was able to sit down and finally realize that, like, that wasn't, I hurt a lot of people. And, now he's kind of set on himself on this road of, like, I'm going to change what happens now. And I'm going to make sure that, that he doesn't have to put people in that position there ever again. Because, once again, it does affect the way that you see yourself on that screen. And it's called, as Gio always talks about, the Rainbow Coalition, right? Um, Something that what's it called? I took from this that really spoke to me was that feeling of not belonging to either community, and that idea of what I can't remember specifically what he said, but vanilla was all that I saw. It was all vanilla. It was it was dressed in vanilla, and how, like, your feeling of not being X enough for this community, but not being X enough for that community, and you find yourself just existing in this weird space where you're like, well, where the hell do I belong? And of course, with time, you realize exactly where it is, and how it doesn't matter whether you're enough for either side. You are just enough for both in your own mind. But yeah, I gotta say, man, this movie is just incredible. I want to buy this set. I need to buy this set. They're high digital transfers, so they're not like 4K digital restorations, but I'm still gonna buy these. Like, I really want to watch these other ones, because he's got a lot of other movies that he's made. And I think that it's really important that we kind of preserve, and it's once again what I love about Criterion, like preserving these stories so that way they can make sure that they're put on a platform where it's being able to reach the mass audiences that it might not have been able to reach in 1989. But now, because of us having more accessibility with streaming services and such, we're able to talk about these films. And hopefully, this may not be the only podcast that talks about Marlon Riggs. What's called Tongues Untied. Maybe soon. Let's go in a couple of years after this box set comes out and more people are able to own it. Maybe we'll be seeing more discussions on this, because I feel like this is really important to be shown, not just in the classroom, but the just required viewing out of anybody. Gio, you got anything else left to say, or let me. Oh, yeah, we got the Lucky Peach in here. Yeah, hold on, Gio. Go ahead. You sure, Gio?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll go. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can find my fucking mouse. Yeah. Go ahead and go. I'm looking for my mouse.
Yeah, I was like, it's definitely like, we talk about like representation a lot. But representation isn't just like, here they're on screen now. It's about hey, this is who we are. Like, these are our stories. Not just about the stories that are going on now, or a sort of story, or a trope. It's about like the real thing. Like, documentary is so important in that way, and I fully, like, I should be watching more documentaries myself. Our stories are so important, and sharing them so that they continue in that legacy. Now, when I said the word legacy, I remember what I said at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Legacy is so important. Like, legacy is like when you have nothing else. It's like the legacy is what you keep going, because what's it? Like, I heard in church all the time, because tomorrow is not promised, but like you can live on through, like, we live on through stories as human beings, as a species, we live on through stories and through history. And so the way the sharing those, whether that be like critical race theory, folklore, documentary, that's so important, so that we can all continue to progress. With Eddie, like Eddie Murphy, it's not about condemning the jokes. It's about moving forward and progressing and being better, because we fucking live in America. The whole thing is supposed to be innovation and success and progress and moving forward. Innovation leads to further innovation and iteration until we continue to progress ever forward, manifest destiny. So share the fucking stories, make them available. Hold on, I'm using a prop now. In the same way I had to read Cannery Row in 11th grade, and we talked at my Catholic school, and we talked about abortion. In the same way, we should be talking about AIDS, and talking about how it decimated an entire generation, to the point where even now a 30-year-old gay man is called an elder, instead, and that 30 and beyond, because the idea of living past 30 because so much of a whole generation of queer people were taken out and died because of AIDS, because care was not given to them. Their stories are so important. There are a number of people who are working to put the stories, to bring the stories forward, and you can do the work too in your way as well. Google is free.
Google is free.
I think this just shows, and we've said this before, is communities tend to put themselves in a bubble. They don't experience anything outside that bubble, and this is what you have to do. You have to experience different cultures, different races, different sexualities. You have to learn about all that. That's what we should be doing. We should be learning about all this. We shouldn't just be ignorant that people are different.
Yeah. Man, I just, what's it called? Like, I think, like, just before we go into the, what's it called, the scoring and just talking about what's it called, what Rachel says. You know, I read the article today about what's it called, about when Kiarostami and Kurosawa met, and you know, Kiarostami brings up that Kurosawa said films should be made with hearts and experienced with hearts. And I just think that that's what this movie was. Like, it's made with the heart of a very revolutionary man who's willing to put it all there, and it should be experienced with, you know, opening your heart to a different experience from other people. So let me go ahead and read what Rachel has to say. Too many people don't realize or don't care about how dangerous their words are to communities, and when called out on it, refuse to face their own faults. And then refusing to acknowledge how they've hurt communities causes more harm. We need to face the past head on in order to progress. And yeah, and you know, and a lot of it, like, what's it called? Like we said, it's not about what's it called, being condemned. More so, it's about reflecting on what we've said before. And you know, a lot of people too, you know, what is something that I've heard a lot of my friends, what's it called, who grew up in harsher situations of what's it called, that I didn't grow up in, say, was, I didn't have time as a young kid to learn about this stuff. Like, I was too busy trying to survive, you know, and that's why it's more important right now that I'm learning to, like, better what I think, you know, instead of being stuck in the past. But, you know, there's also about being patient with some people who, you know, in their youth, they didn't have the opportunities to, you know, read the books and stuff, and didn't have the opportunities to learn more, and they're learning now as an adult, and being able to progress with that as well. But you know, this is incredible. This is you know, this is absolutely what's it called, the groundbreaking cinema. There's no way that there's anything else that I can say that doesn't bring to words how much I need you all to watch this. You know, there's a lot of great LGBTQ films to watch during what's it called, Pride Month. Of course, you've got the wonderful Moonlights. You've got, you know, what's it called, Happy Together from One Car Why. I think that you all need to make this recommended viewing very soon. If you've been waiting to watch this, set aside those 58 minutes that you need to put to watch this. If you're bored and you don't know what to watch and you want to watch some more LGBTQ cinema, this is something you need to watch. This is soon, right down the bat. You need to go ahead and watch this. Just soon.
Open your third eye. Get your tongues untied.
Get your tongues untied. And I'll say, before we go ahead and leave, what's it called? That final poem was just absolutely beautiful, about him having sex with that man. You know, how like that, the constant anxiety at that time. I don't know if there's a hole in the condom. You know, I don't know if, what's it called, I'll end up with the disease. Like, it feels so right now, but like, I don't know what will be the consequences later. It was just beautiful, beautiful poetry. But I'm gonna go ahead and give this film a 9.5 out of 10. I need to see this new transfer. I feel like this will really cement itself as the masterpiece that I feel like it is on a rewatch when I see this new version and put it on my TV and really immerse myself into that experience. But you know, the experience that I had right now was just like, okay, get this done so I can review it, but also experience it. I want to sit down and really, really kind of consume this movie too, so I can feel everything that I want to feel from this film, that this film is trying to make me feel. I just, what's it called? I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9.5 right now. Brad, what are you gonna go ahead and give Tongues Untied?
It's generally not often where I do this. It's generally where I don't understand a movie where I do this. This movie is too important for just me to give it a score. So watch this movie.
Watch this movie.
I can't give it a score.
Yeah, I guess I just have to be one of the oddballs. He just has to give it the score just to stay with the brand of the podcast. Gio, what are you gonna go ahead and give it if you want to give it?
Oh yeah, I'm giving it a score. So when I first watched it, I gave it like 4 out of 5. But like, being able to unpack, you kind of like feel, you kind of think a bit more about like the book, the film, and like how you're feeling about it. And so yeah, like in this conversation, I'm giving it the same as you, Raul. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10, and that half is really just because because of its age, there's like a few like audio things, like weird blending. But other than that, like this is what like everything and more of what I expected, and fully like art is supposed to show you yourself, and like it confronted me in such a way, and like I felt so seen. So
yeah. All right, man. Let's go. It's been a pleasure to have you, Gio. As always, we thank you all so much for being in here. We had Ferris, we had Rachel, and we had Stacy for one comment. Well, Stacy's always here, man. Let's go. We always appreciate Stacy.
Stacy's that ride or die.
That ride or die, bro. That ride or die. It's like Stacy a D pro, bro.
Stacy the pro.
Stacy D pro. Yeah. We want to thank you all so much. As always, we want to thank our wonderful Patreon supporters. Thank you all so much for being here with us and being able to make these shows possible. Want to thank our producers and our writers. Want to thank our wonderful associate producer Sarah. Thank you for being here with us for such a long time. And Brad, we want to thank our wonderful executive producer Shane, who I won't skip over this time.
You can follow our friend Shane at twitch.tv/XSRK or on Twitter at XSRK_. Also, go purchase something at thriftedil.com. Support the Suppy God.
Yeah. If I was any type of asshole, I would just be like, I'm not going to promote Shane. He doesn't even listen to the episode, but I'm not.
The man pays. The man pays on time all the time.
Man is getting his own home, getting married soon, and he still finds a way to give us $15 a month.
Thank you, Shane.
Jesus Christ.
That's a hustler.
That's a hustler, bro. Brown Rice 96. Thank you, Bryce. As always, you can find him at Brown Rice 96 on all platforms. Thank you so much, Bryce, for being a writer. Oh, man, I'm so looking forward to Genesis in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that ain't gonna be as impactful as this movie, that's for sure.
Oh no, there's no way it can be, bro. We want to thank also our wonderful Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Yep, Real Nerdy Dad and Real Nerdy Dad on Twitter. And Gio, for being our wonderful guest here today, you want to let them know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me in a few places. On Twitter, primarily at MediaMartyr17, MEDIAMARTYR17. Link tree in the description for all the places I am on the internet, including, and I'm writing it next week. I'm starting writing my reviews for the Nerdcore website. It'll be once or twice each month.
Woo. Hey, there we go.
The first one will be 3 short films by Marlon T. Riggs.
Hell yeah, baby. All right. Can't wait to do some reading. And you all should definitely do some reading too. It's not on here on this, what's it called? On this overlay, but it's nerdcore.com. Go and check it out. So with that being said, Brad, we go ahead and tell them that next month, we will be we'll be visiting for the 3rd time in this podcast history as we continue on with the filmography of the Emperor himself, Akira Kurosawa. And we have an extra week. It's going to be next month. We have to finish next week, and then we'll start our month of Kurosawa. But, let's go ahead and just get it over with, Brad. Let's go ahead and see who's going to get the, the picks. So, let me go ahead and read you all what we chose for this month. I went ahead and I chose, Sanjuro, I chose Sanjuro because we've already done Yojimbo, and I really want to watch the second part. So I want to watch Sanjuro. But then I decided I wanted to choose Dersu Uzala, which is the one that he won the Best Foreign Language Film Oscar for. It was his Russian movie that he filmed out in Russia. I
That one's going to be different.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy, bro. And of course, for my Patreon mini, I am choosing his first film that he made in color, the Dodes Kaden. I do not know how to say it, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to pronounce it the way I see it. And Brad chose I Live in Fear, The Bad Sleep Well, and of course, one of his last movies he ever made, Dreams, which I've already watched, and I am really hoping, honestly, that Brad wins the coin toss because I really want him to watch this one.
I never win a coin toss though, ever.
Yeah, you never win the coin. You always win the
I win the wheel thing, so
I'm gonna manifest that you win this coin toss.
Yeah. All right. So Kurosawa, I loved Kiki. He's a wrong person, bro.
Stacey, I love you to death, so I'm gonna let that one slide.
Yeah. All right, Brad. Let's go and see who's gonna go ahead and get the picks for next month.
You call it, sir, all the time.
Come on, man. I really want you to watch Dreams. I'm gonna go with Kids.
It's heads.
Son of a bitch.
I never fucking win.
All right, man.
Damn.
That's okay. We do have an International Film Month.
Yeah, that's very true. Very
I'll
true.
choose fucking Dreams then.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, Dreams. Look, man, if Criterion, if y'all don't make these damn movies into a box in the next 2 years, I'm just gonna have to start buying these fucking movies, individually.
That's what I did.
Because I really want that a box set, but like I really want to own Dreams and watch that.
Now,
again.
there is a DVD box set.
Yeah,
but
that thing
but
costs
it's
like
so out of
$500.
stock that it's like $2,000.
Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm good. All right, man. So next month we'll start off with Sanjuro, and then the week after we'll do I Live in Fear, and the week after that we will do Dersu Uzala, and we'll close out with The Bad Sleep Well. And then on Patreon, you can look forward to a Patreon mini of Dodes Kaden. But next week we're still playing catch up since we still have an extra week of June, so we're gonna be doing Rumblefish for what's it called? Rumblefish for the Francis Ford Coppola month that we didn't finish. But here's the thing. It's going to be streaming live on YouTube under, YouTube and Twitch under, the mini pod episode. But audio version is only going to be available on the Patreon feed. So if you want to get the audio version, since we're trying to make sure that we have enough, content supply for next week, we're still going to make it exclusive audio only for Patreon. And
of course, get you in the door.
$1 gets you in the door, and an extra $1 gets you that episode. Gets you that episode in its audio. Fuck you, Brad.
I live in mini pod land.
Yeah, Brad, have you decided? Will we do Luca on Thursday, or you want to do the Bling Ring to finally play catch up?
Let's play catch up. Let's do the Bling Ring.
Okay, let's do Bling Ring. We'll do Bling Ring on Thursday next week. Same situation. Live on Twitch and on YouTube. It's going to be on video, but if you want the audio version, you're going to have to go to patreon.com/nerdcore, pledge $2, and you'll be able to listen to the audio version of that. So, of course, without further ado, it's been a lot of fun. Gio, it's been a wonderful time being here with you. And, recently we've been going longer with these episodes. We did it for Satyricon, and now we went longer with this one.
Well, Satyricon, we were just confused for like 50 minutes.
Yeah. But, hey, sometimes it's good to get confused. You'll see us. We'll see all three of us tomorrow for the Nerdcore live show. There will be no live show on Sunday because hopefully, crossing my fingers, Brad and I can do our episode of Stalker for Cinema Condition. And that will be streaming live to you all if you're a patron at the $1 tier on patreon.com/nerdcore.
$1 gets you in the door.
$1 gets you in the door. And then on Wednesday next week, you'll get that publicly for everybody. But what does Stacy have to say before we get out of here?
I would watch that pay-per-view, by the way.
Rumblefish. That's a new WWE event, isn't it? It's 30 fish in the cage, and Roman Reigns still goes out.
Yeah, I would watch that pay-per-view. Just Roman Reigns punching a salmon.
It throws him over the camera and makes it look like the guy hasn't landed.
People's elbows.
Yeah. You've heard of Royal Rumble. Now listen to Papal Rumble Fish.
Hell yeah, Bling Ring. Y'all get me into wrestling. All right, Brad. It's been a wonderful time. Send him out, dude.
All right, Roll. Thank you, being host as always. Thank you for our ho-host joining us today, Gio.
Ho-host.
Thank you to all those who joined us in chat today. We appreciate each and every one of you. Also, thank you to all our listeners, all our Patreon supporters. You guys are great. Love you. And in this episode, I'm just going to say rest in peace to Marlon T. Riggs. Young Yoda out.
Stacy, I know you're not in there. Give me some time. I got to